maybe try therapy. This video is going to be me talking about my experience with therapy and, kind of coming to terms with the fact that I might need to talk to somebody about my issues to get through them. And ultimately getting to the point where I feel like therapy has single-handedly changed my life. Something I will say before I get into this video is that a lot of people seem to believe that therapy does. And honestly, it's true. Therapy doesn't work if you don't want it to. Again, I see a ton of people that online, and not just online, people that I talk to say, you know what, yeah, I tried the therapy thing, just wasn't for me though. I always kind of just knew that therapy wasn't for me, but I tried it one time just to say that I tried it, and I didn't really like it. Did you go into it with an open mind? Did you go into it thinking about using therapy as a device to better your life? And what I mean by device isn't that it's going to solve all of your problems immediately. You're not going to ask your therapist, should I do A or B, and then they give you the answer. At the end of the day, therapy itself, device was the right word to describe it, because it's a device that you use in your everyday life to get through the most menial of issues. It's a device that you can use to get over even the worst bumps and hurdles that you've encountered along the way. Therapy gives you the tools to get through those things. Therapy gives you the ability to, when you're in the moment of experiencing something, to reflect and say, okay, what should I really do here? And again, you're not going to go in and they're going to give you all the answers. You're not going to go in and they're going to be like, oh, why did you just do this? That's not how it works. It's never been how it works. They're going to go in and they're going to ask you a ton of questions. They're going to tell you what you sound like objectively. They're going to say, hey, you know what? It really does sound like this is something you care about. It really does sound like, you care about the fact that your boyfriend's been ignoring you. It really does sound like you care about the fact that your best friend dropped you. It sounds like you care about that. And I, review within myself what that actually means. What caring about that thing actually means. And they'll give you methods to get through those situations. You can ask them, how do I calm myself down when I feel like everything's piling on to me? When I feel like anxiety has suddenly taken over my entire life? Well, in all honesty, the method I wasn't given this in a way. I kind of stumbled across it and then they kind of paraphrased it. But the way I look at it is that when anxiety was thrown at me, which is something that I couldn't deal with before therapy, by the way, but when I was, piled up with anxiety, thinking nothing would go right in my life and that everything was crumbling, I would simply tell myself to calm down, which again, that doesn't really help. Just telling yourself to calm down doesn't help, but you take multiple deep breaths, not just like one, in and out. You have to really get into it, really take multiple deep breaths, sit down, ground yourself, make sure your feet are touching the floor. It's a weird tactic, but low-key works. Ground yourself, breathe, and repeat that you'll be okay. Repeat that you've been through worse probably, and if this is the worst, that you will get through it because you've been through every single bad day of your life so far. So why is this one any different? No, but you don't understand. It's different because now I gotta pay off my credit card, but I have no money. It's different because I can't afford rent. This is the first time in my life that I can't afford rent. And something I will say is that everything else in your life, up until this point where you've reached this really stressful period, and maybe you haven't tried therapy at this point, but my general advice in this area is just to, again, you ground yourself, you breathe. But if you don't have anything to anchor on, if you don't have worse days to anchor your security in, you just have to fake it until you make it. I know, it's kind of a cop-out answer, but in my opinion, it's the truth. You fake it until you make it. You tell yourself that you'll be okay. You tell yourself that I will be okay at the end of the day. No matter what happens, I will be alive. No matter what happens, I will bounce back. I'll maybe find somewhere else to live, or maybe I'll be able to scrounge up the money, or maybe I'll have to make an uncomfortable phone call to my parents asking them to loan me some money. That's for that specific scenario, but at the end of the day, this goes for everything in your life. So that's a tool that I got, is being able to just say that. Being able to say that comfortably. Being able to say like, oh yeah, I just calm myself down in the moment and try and come up with a plan to navigate my current situation. You know, I can say that. I don't really know how I'm able to say that, frankly, because again, just saying the words "I just calm myself down" doesn't really help somebody who hasn't been shown those tools, but I promise you, I learned that in therapy. I learned how to get through these things through talking to somebody, a professional who knows how the human mind works. And again, sometimes therapy isn't even about finding all the answers or finding the perfect method to get through whatever you're going through. Sometimes therapy is just about voicing, you know, your concerns about your life or about your current situation to somebody. Sometimes it's about just having somebody there to listen, especially if you don't have anybody like that in your life currently. What I think we don't realize enough is that in voicing our concerns, in talking about our life and our current struggles, we can find the answers on our own most of the time, like 95% of the time. In voicing our concern about our current relationship, you know, just venting, being like, yeah, I don't know, it's just like she wants me to be something that I'm not. You know, maybe you don't get to that point yet. Maybe you start with, yeah, I don't know, she just kind of wants me to be super religious, and I'm not. And then suddenly, after about half an hour of talking about it, you get to the point of, she just wants me to be something that I'm not. Okay? And then in your brain, you finally subconsciously get to the answer of, maybe this isn't right. Or maybe it's not even a relationship. Maybe it's something else in your life. You don't understand. I'm so overwhelmed with everything that's going on in my life. You know, I got school. I got responsibilities at home. I have a family that I might have to take care of. I have, you know, a job that I have to work, a job that I don't necessarily even like, but I have to work because, you know, I don't want to starve. I don't want to go homeless, you know. And, you know, in talking about these things, you come to all kinds of conclusions. You come to the conclusion of, yeah, my life's a mess. I have so much stuff going on. You know, and after talking about your problems for about half an hour, you get to the conclusion that actually I do have like a 8 to 10 hour window in my day that I could dedicate 30 minutes of that 8-hour window to fix like half of my problems. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have been nicer. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have been a little bit more patient. Yeah, you know what? I guess it would have been a good idea to just break up with them 6 months ago instead of leaving them on. You come to these conclusions by simply talking about it, by simply having somebody there to listen and ask you question after question after question, and having you, you know, rethink the ways that you view the world, the ways that you view relationships, the ways that you view your current situation, your life. And again, this is me being a big advocate there, right? And as I said at the start of the video, a lot of people haven't exactly had the best experience with it and have, you know, in turn been they've kind of strayed away from it, if that makes sense. But if you're one of those people who've genuinely tried it and you feel yourself, you know, kind of straying away from it, and you really, you know, you might need some direction in your life and you're still kind of spiraling and you don't know what you're going to do and you feel anxious all the time and you might need some tools or methods to get over it, my best advice is to at least give it one more try. And if that doesn't work, at least give it one more try. And I understand therapy is not easily accessible to everybody. I understand it's not something that, you know, everybody in the world can kind of just, oh yeah, you know, I'll just find a therapist for free, you know. But if you do have access, I really can't talk to people's specific situation. That's not something I can do. I'm going to be open and honest about that. But what I can do is say that if you do have access, you know, if you're in school, if you're in university, chances are there's a counselor. If you're in university, chances are there is student counseling services, because respectfully, I've checked at like dozens of universities just to make sure that my point is right here. You can reach out. And you know what? Maybe this isn't even about a profession. Maybe this is just about reaching out to your loved ones in general, reaching out to somebody who you know will be an open ear. Sometimes it's about getting to that point, the point of you finally having an answer, at least subconsciously, on your own. But the only way you'll get to it on your own, you know, if talking to yourself hasn't worked already, trust me, talking to somebody else, like a friend that you can vent to and kind of joke to about it, that'll do it. That'll be the one. Anyways, you guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've kind of just been running around. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do right now. I want to go mining for diamonds. I'm kind of broke, you know. But yeah, I kind of have to lock in here. For those of you who don't know, I took on an extra semester in university, meaning I did an extra 2 months past April, which is the usual end for the year. And I was swamped because I took an overload of courses in that short period of time, and I just really couldn't get a ton of videos out. So I apologize. You know, I know a lot of people have been kind of annoyed about it, or they said just take your time, and I appreciate both sides of it. But at the end of the day, honestly, kind of happy I took that time off. I was able to focus on my studies, get good grades, and now, you know, for the rest of the summer, I can kind of focus on, you know, things that I actually really want to do. And this YouTube channel is one of them. I mean, I don't want to just completely abandon it. And I love making these videos. I love editing them. I love, you know, the community that I've built. And at the end of the day, it was never about activity. It was never about having people log onto the server. And it was never about, you know, having X amount of members or X amount of subscribers or X amount of views. It was always about me doing something because I love doing it, because I have a passion for it. And I'm going to continue to have that passion no matter what, even if I, you know, take a week between uploads or if I take a day. So thank you all so much for all of the continued love and support on the videos, no matter how long the gaps are. And yeah, I know it's a bit of a ramble at the end, but I just wanted to give a big shout out to the entire community for being really understanding and really awesome. That being said, as always, you guys, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our channel members. Jesse, Divinity, Elfrey, Chris, Tori, Hamada Ginger, PT Gamer, Eris, Bullet, Foxy, Freeze Flame, Takeover, Flawless Who, and The AJ. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. And if you yourself would like to become an Industries investor or channel member, then you can do so by hitting the join button right under this video for $1 USD a month. Know you're loved. Know you can choose to be kind today, tomorrow, and the day after. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. I'll see you guys later.